Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day out, but it's really, really cold. We have a couple minutes to let people come in. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day so far. My day is good because I woke up and I am sober. Anyways, let's see here. Let her know. Hey, okay. 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 Good morning, Tony. All right. So it's AA Day. Good morning. I'm frozen. There we go. If you see me going like this, it's because to make sure that I'm not frozen. Anyways, today it's AA Day. Good morning, everybody. I'm Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. Please remember no judging each other in the chat or in the comments. This is an AA meeting to help people to achieve sobriety and stay sober. So please be mindful of that and be respectful. But yeah, so let's say the Serenity Prayer and get the meeting going. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. It's all right, Lily. 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So I always put in the description what we're reading, so what book we're reading, and the page number and the story. So we're in the big book right now, and we are on 375, and it says, Winner Takes All. Legally blind, but no longer alone, she found a way to stay sober, raise a family, and turn her life over to the care of God. My parents were very much in love and had been married a couple of years when they decided to start a family. Just a minute. Just a second, guys. I'm trying to figure out. There it is. Okay. They were so excited when their first son was born. They owned their own small business, and with their lives seemed perfect until tragedy struck. When their son was about 2 years old, my parents were eating at a local restaurant, and he was dancing to the music of the jukebox and having a good time. He followed some older children outside and was hit by a car. My parents carried him in an ambulance to a hospital 30 miles away, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. My parents were stricken with grief. One miracle that brought them some joy in the midst of all the pain was that Mom found out she was pregnant. When this little girl was born, she brought them great joy. She did not take the place of her brother, but in her own right, she did bring them joy. They tried again to have another little boy, but they had me instead. Not only was I a girl, but I was also born legally blind. A year or so later, they finally did get the boy they wanted, and there was a big party to celebrate his birth. From the very beginning, I felt different and unwanted at a very young age, as children do. I had to make sense out of my life, so I came to the conclusion that I was bad and God knew I was bad. God made me handicapped to punish me. I thought that the undertow of sadness in my family was because of me. Later, I realized that a part of it might have been due to my handicap, but there was still a lot of grieving going on. My father turned to alcohol and was a very angry man. When we were growing up, he was very critical. I was told things on a daily basis like I was dumb and lazy. When I started school, I truly realized how different I was from the other children. Children, er, children were very cruel and made fun of me. I tell you many stories of times I was treated badly, and although the stories would be different, the feeling was always the same. I was not good enough, and I hurt. Special education was mostly for the mentally retarded, so I did not get much support from my teachers. So there were two teachers who made a difference in my life. One was a third grade teacher who got me books or got me large print books. I felt so good, or it felt so good that someone understood I had a problem. But that was overruled by the embarrassment I felt trying to carry those big books around. The other teacher was a freshman high school teacher who flunked me. It was as if I heard her say, "You can do better." All the other teachers just let me pass, whether I knew the material or not. When I got out of high school, I felt as if I had gotten out of some kind of prison. I graduated 150th out of a class of 152, and I felt that I was dumb. It was during my high school years that I discovered alcohol, and my problems were over. Now I was pretty and smart. For the first time, I felt as if I fit in. I still could not see. Oh well, no big deal. I felt good. I got married and had two children. I married a man who was not or could not be honest. For several years after we were married, I did not drink. My sister went through a divorce and moved to the town I was living in. To be a good sister, I went out with her, for she knew no one in the town. We went to a country western place that had a beer bus. You just paid a certain amount to get in and you could drink all you wanted to drink. I thought I had arrived in heaven. We did this several times a week, and then she started meeting people and started dating. Well, I couldn't drive, so I started drinking more and more at home. Several years later, alcohol had control over my life. I had a t-shirt that I just loved. It said, "I used to hate myself in the morning, now I sleep till noon." That described my feelings totally. When my daughter had to go to the hospital, I stayed sober for 5 days she was there, and told myself that I had licked the alcohol problem. On the way home from the hospital, I got drunk again. I cannot tell you the number of times I tried to stop on my own. My son would look at me and say, "Mom, why do you have to drink so much?" He was about 11 years old at the time. So one night I got on my knees and said, "God, change me or let me die." It was at this point in my life that I called Alcoholics Anonymous and asked for help. They sent two ladies over to my house. They sat with me and I told them that I drank because my marriage was bad. One of the ladies held my hand and said, "That is not why you drink." I told him I drank because I was part German. She patted my hand and said, "No, that's not why you drink." Then I told her I drank because I was legally blind. They said, "No, that's not why you drink." And they started to explain to me that alcoholism is a disease. They shared their stories with me and told me how alcohol had taken over their lives. I started going to meetings and my story sounded so dull next to some of the stories I heard. The most interesting thing I could think to tell was about the time my friends, who were also drunk, let me drive the car. I almost got us all killed. But what fun. Legally blind, drunk, and behind the wheel of a car. God was really taking care of me and the other people on the road that night. I just didn't know it at the time. The truth is, most of my drinking was done at home alone. I would call people and talk, and the following morning were awful. Trying to piece together what I had said. I would say things to my husband like, "Wasn't that an interesting call last night?" Hoping he would volunteer information. My hands were beginning to shake without the alcohol. Yet when I got to AA, I wasn't sure I belonged because my drunken log was not exciting. Then one night at an AA meeting, a friend said that even though he had been in jail and done lots and lots of stuff, he was no different from me. He felt the same things I felt. It was then that I knew I was not unique, that the people did understand the pain inside of me. I met a lady who had a handicapped child, and we learned so much from each other. One important thing that I learned was that handicap is not a four-letter word. Handicap is not a dirty word. I learned that I was not bad, that I was one of God's special children, that God had a plan for my life. The people of AA showed me how my path could and would become an asset. I got a sponsor and started working the steps. The promises of the big book started coming true for me. The feeling of uselessness and self-pity went away, and I could see how my experience could help others. When I was 3 years sober, I made one of the most difficult decisions I had ever made. I left the marriage. I did not leave because I didn't love him. I still love him, but the marriage was not a healthy place for me to be. I found myself with two children to support. I was legally blind and had no job skills. When I moved out, I first moved into public housing for blind people. This was a shocking experience for me, but it was full of growth. For the first time in my life, I was learning to accept my handicap. Before this, I would plan out my day as if I could see and then plan it out again based on the fact that my vision was limited. Through the Commission for the Blind, I got involved in a program that helps blind people become self-employed. After 3 months of training, I moved to a city a couple of 100 miles away where I knew no one. I lived in an apartment that was about a mile from a coffee shop that I operated. Will you quit? I would walk to work at 6:30 a.m. carrying $200 in opening cash on a dark road. And on my second day, one of them did not show up. had never run a business before, and my 3 months of training just didn't seem enough. It was hard. It was a hard time for me. A lady from a major food company came by, and I remember what I was doing. Just a second. A lady from a major food company came by to take my grocery order or hamburger meat. Grocery order, and I didn't have a clue how much coffee, bacon, or hamburger meat I needed. She shared with me what the previous manager had ordered and helped me place an order. God only knows how we got on the subject, but she was a member of AA and later would become my new sponsor. She picked me up and took me to meetings. At one of the meetings, I met a guy who, for the next year, picked me up and drove me to work. I paid him $1 each morning. I am sure that did not cover his gas, but it helped me to feel I was paying my way. For the first time in my life, I was now supporting myself. This dog is gonna drive me crazy. Hey, get out of there. Now. Hopper, get out of there. Now. Move. I work the steps. My life changed. I think differently today. I feel different today. I am new. We have a sign at the AA meeting I go to that says, "Accept a miracle. My sobriety is full of miracles." When my son filled out an application for college, I filled one out too and was accepted. Soon I will be a senior and I have a 3.71 grade point average. Thanks to AA, I have come a long way from being near the bottom on a high school class. It takes me a lot longer to read the material, so I have a CCTV. I put my books under this camera and it comes out in big print on a monitor. I have a talking calculator that helped me get through statistics and a telescope that can help me see the board. I accept help from the disabled student services and gladly make use of the volunteer note taker. I learned to accept the things I could not change, in this case, my vision, and change the things I can. I could be grateful for and accept the visual aids instead of being embarrassed and rejecting them as I had when I was younger. I have already told you about some of the miracles that have happened. However, there's more. Sorry about the dog over here chewing. I want to tell you how I feel inside. I am no longer spiritually bankrupt. It's as if I have a magic source in my life that has provided me with all I need. I just celebrated my 12th year of sobriety a couple of months ago. When I first came to AA, I didn't know who I was. My sponsor said, "Great, if you don't know who you are, you can become whomever God wants you to be." Today, I am doing things that I never dreamed possible. More importantly, it is the peace and serenity I feel inside that keeps me coming back. I have been through hard times in and out of sobriety, but before AA, it didn't matter how good things got. I always had a feeling that something was wrong. Since AA, it doesn't matter how bad things get. I always have a feeling that everything is going to be alright. In working the 12 steps, my life and my old way of thinking have changed. I have no control over some of the things that happened in my life, but with the help of God, I can now choose how I will respond. Today, I choose to be happy, and when I'm not, I have the tools of this program to put me back on track. Now, I highlighted a lot in this one. Starting with, my son would look at me and say, "Mom, why do you have to drink so much?" I highlighted that because my son did come to me and say that. I have two boys, and they saw me go through my worst days of alcoholism. Hi, Rita. So I started drinking in my 30s, and my boys were teenagers. And my oldest son brought home a paper from school. It was health class, so it was something he was learning. And he handed it to me, and it was about alcoholism. And I didn't care. I didn't even read it. Because it said alcoholism. I wish I had quit way back then. But I'm 10 years sober now. And I will never forget him looking at me and saying that. And then right here, they said, no, that's not why. Then I told them I drank because I was legally blind. They said, no, that's not why you drink. And they started to explain to me that alcoholism is a disease. They shared their stories with me and told me how alcohol had taken over their lives. My sponsor did that. Both of them did that for me. They told me their stories, and it inspired me to want to continue being sober with them. I didn't know anything or anyone other than one friend in a group, and so the first thing I did was get my sponsor. I hadn't even been told that I needed to get one, but I did. And so both of them impacted my life in different ways for the better. And I could talk to both of them all the time. I felt comfortable being around and talking and free to be able to talk to them about the things that I was going through, which isn't always easy. And like her, she is blind. I am deaf. I had to learn how to read lips, and I got made fun of for wearing hearing aids. So, yeah, I stopped wearing them when I was a child. And as an adult and going through this past, back in 2020, having to wear masks, I couldn't hear people. And it's really, really hard for me to not be able to hear because you have something over your face that's trying to protect them, And so I struggled with that, but I made it through sober. Some of my friends didn't. And then it says, the truth is most of my drinking was done at home alone. I would call people and talk, and the following morning were awful. Trying to piece together what I had said, I would say things to my husband like, wasn't that an interesting call last night? I did that. And then when I got sober, I had to tell my sister to stop calling me when she was drunk. And that really kicked in, and I was like, no, because I had been doing the same thing. But since I got sober, I had stopped doing that. And so I didn't want to have to say that to her because she is my best friend. She's been my best friend my whole life. Our whole lives. We're twins, and not being with her hurts. It was hard. Really hard. Okay. I learned one important thing that I learned was that handicap is not a 4-letter word. Handicap is not a dirty word. I learned that I was not bad. That I was one of God's special children. God had a plan for my life, The people of AA showed me how my past could and would become an asset. I got a sponsor and started working the steps. The promises of the big book started coming true for me. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity went away, and I could see how my experience could help others. Exactly. That's why I'm here doing these meetings for all of you and myself, because I can work my program and do my steps, and it's changed my life so much, and it's been for the better. And um, being able to share my story and things that I have learned that help me might help someone else. And having a free gift as AA is free. I share it all the time. I'm not shy to say I'm a recovering alcoholic. And I've had people encourage me to do these meetings here. Even people that I met 2 years ago, 3 years ago, have told me, keep doing it. And y'all are why I keep doing it, and myself, But expect a miracle, or yeah, expect a miracle. My sobriety is full of miracles. That's the truth. I'd say that because three very, very important things have happened to me. There's a lot more things that have happened that are good. Some are not good. But three things that have happened to me that made sure that I could get through things was: one, my oldest son graduated. Two, my youngest son graduated. Three, my goddaughter was born. They have been very important parts and things that have happened in my life that have changed me for the better. Having my friends, my family, especially my twin sister, and my husband, and my boys, and my parents, they have been great along this journey. They've encouraged me to keep going, and just like encourage all of you to keep going. I learned to accept the things I could not change. In this case, my vision. In my case, it's my hearing. And you can't always change the way things happen. I mean, after all, you can't control everything, right? And things don't always go as planned. And when it doesn't, you just gotta move on. Go to something different. But for me, I learned how to read lips. So I do a lot of lip reading and a lot of what? But yes, I am very hard of hearing, and I'm close to being deaf. And I've had to learn how to deal with that. I think I do pretty good. And AA doesn't judge me for being deaf. They try to help me in raising their voices in the meeting so that way I can hear them. And if I don't hear them, I just say, what was that about? Or where are we at in the reading? So I've learned to voice that I am hard of hearing. In working the 12 steps, my life and my old way of thinking had changed. I have no control over some of the things that happened in my life, but with help of God, I can now choose how I will respond. Yes. Don't get me wrong, I still get in arguments. But if it gets to be too much, I'm just like, stop, done. I'm done. Just leave it. Some people don't like it when I do that, but that's okay. And if they keep going, I just leave. I have my exit plan, you know, and that's how we work through this stuff. You know, we gotta have a plan and all of that. And just because life throws you a lemon doesn't mean that you can't keep going. I mean, keep going. It's completely worth every day of being sober. I don't know what else to say, but it works. If it didn't, I wouldn't be here saying it does. But I am seriously glad that I found AA when I did. Because right after that, right after my first meeting, I found out I got a job. I'm still friends with my boss of that job. She's listening right now. Or her husband is listening right now. But, yeah, so being sober, I have, like I said, I watched my boys graduate. I watched my goddaughter be born. I got my first job that I actually like to do. And I have made some great friends through all of my sobriety, and it's been a great 10 years, even on my bad days. Because no matter what, you gotta be honest, you still have bad days. Not every day is great. But I've had a few jobs since I've been sober, and I never thought I would. And I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of my sponsor. I'm proud of my sponsor that's in heaven for helping me find my voice and carrying me through 8 years of sobriety. Um, but yeah, I miss her a lot. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask before I end the live stream. I'm gonna read the daily reflection real quick, and then I'll answer questions if you have any. So it's February 11th, the limits of self-reliance. We ask ourselves why we had them fears. Wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Alcoholics Anonymous, page 68. All of my character defects separate me from God's will. When I ignore my association with Him, I face the world and my alcoholism alone, and must depend on self-reliance. I've never found security and happiness through self-will, and the only result is a life of fear and discontent. God provides a path back to Him and to His gift of serenity and comfort. First, however, I must be willing to acknowledge my fears and understand their source and power over me. I frequently ask God to help me understand how I separate myself from Him. Any questions? I asked. Who has 8 years? If somebody in the chat has 8 years, congratulations. But I have 10. My sister has 9. My husband has 25? No. That's how long we've been married. Almost, anyways. He's got 30? No, 29. Yeah, he's got 29. 29 years sobriety. Thank you, Ax. Yeah, it's been a crazy ride of my sobriety. Every day's been worth it. Not like I said, not every day is great. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be sober, and I'm grateful to be able to live my sobriety day by day and work my 12 steps in every day. Like I say, you can be working your steps and not realize it. And that is the amazing thing about being sober and being able to know how to use your program even without realizing that you are working your program. Just a second. Ugh, my computer's almost dead. Plug it in. Plug it in. Plug it in. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. But yeah, my phone's going bananas. Trying to get this battery thing to go away. My cat went all the way up to the top. Let me go back down. The arguments aren't fun at all. Yeah, so anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and say the Serenity Prayer and get on with the day because this dog probably needs to GOOT. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys. Be safe out there. Stay sober. Use your 12 steps. Love you too, Tony. Stop. I have to wait a second. Love you guys. Be safe. Be kind. Stay sober.